yes. I mean, it's evening here, right? So
Mm,
it's been a long day already.
got you. Yeah.
Um, but no, it's funny how, to me at least, the days that are most busy with productive work often feels the best.
Yeah.
I'm sure
Mm,
you can somewhat relate to that.
absolutely. Being productive is it's a good feeling.
It gets addictive.
It can, absolutely. As long as a little bit of moderation, right? A little bit of break in there,
Yeah,
hopefully.
everything in seasons, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Boys, great to have you. I'm excited for this one. Tell me, what do I need to know about both you, Randy, and you, Connor, to understand why you're doing business together?
So, the last time we spoke, it was just myself. I was just doing everything, just, walking to appointments and getting everything done. Little after that, I actually talked to Connor about going back home to Indiana and starting the business over there. And I knew Connor was doing some sort of like marketing agency, and I was really good at the service. I've been doing it for like years, and I just really understand the service itself. The one thing that I wasn't really good at was the admin side, or just processing the numbers, doing the bookkeeping, stuff like that. And that's where Connor played a really big role in the business, and just having him there, it was more. It was a big relief for myself. Feels it brings a lot of good energy too, so that helps out a lot.
Yeah, it's almost a bit of a yin and yang situation. Some context on Randy and I. I'm not sure if I'm not sure if Randy ever got into DMs. We've been best friends since we were like 6, so we know each other pretty well. We know how to work around each other, how to talk around each other, and so it's a blessing to have someone so close to me for so long who's also so like-minded with like the entrepreneurial spirit and wanting to not necessarily work for anyone except ourselves. And so it just made a lot of sense when he was headed home from Colorado, and the timing was really good too. And we'll get more into that as well, with like the market agency stuff and the Bravey back and forth.
I mean, it's yeah. If you manage to stay friends for so long, it almost seems like a match made in heaven. Obviously, just because you're friends doesn't mean you should go into business together. But with the fact that you have the same interests, and then you both mentioned the yin and yang situation, right? It sounds like you're very much in a position where there's a complementary skill set.
Yeah, absolutely. For sure.
For how long? Basically, you just up and left from Colorado, Randy, and then went to Indiana, and you just started the same business, and then also the marketing agency next to that.
Or I was
kind of just join hands.
Yeah, Connor's been doing the marketing agency for a while.
Yeah. So, I guess a bit more context on the marketing agency, Right for Wealth. We had to put a pin in it, and it was a really good time because most of the clients I was working with, I was doing quite all right, but all of my clients were e-commerce and drop shipping products predominantly out of Asia and China for the most part. And this was early 2025. All of the tariffs happened pretty much overnight, and my clientele got wiped out and over the span of about a week. Unfortunately, I don't think some of my clients, my good friends, really, I don't think they ever recovered from after losing their stores, after losing their hero products and everything. And so I was dabbling in e-commerce myself a little bit at the time, on top of like the marketing, because I had the skill set for it. But I had a lot of free time because pretty much my clients, they got involuntarily off-boarded. And so Randy was coming home, and I wanted to take some time to do arguably one of the most, I want to say it's romanticized, but it's very well known how brutal the door-to-door sales is. I figured I'd give it a go. I've done the cold calling, so like might as well do the other half of that coin. And it turns out we had a knack for it, and so Randy was really good on the labor. I was able to translate a lot of my previous marketing skills and value propositions and positioning our service and in a really good light, especially really early on and really quickly. And we were able to have a lot of success pretty much out the gate.
Got you. So from the time where the clients were offboarded from the marketing agency, was there a moment where you were deciding whether to try to get new clients?
Yeah, yeah, I knew I had to pivot out of e-commerce, or pivot rather into e-commerce myself, and try to sell in the European market, or go and try to get clients that were not getting their products or had their stores that were reliant on Asian suppliers. And so
Yeah.
I was in a bit of a funny situation, but I had a partner at the time. I was still a good friend of mine's, who was marketing inclinated as well. Him and I were messing around with e-com and trying a handful of other things, but Braveview, it picked up so quickly that it made the most sense for me to start giving a lot of my time to it. And at Randy, we found ourselves very quickly pretty much working 60, 70-hour weeks over the course of like the first month, just because of how lucrative it was. And we could see the potential. Always wanted to dabble with like a cash flow business. That's it's one of those like boring businesses, but boring businesses make the money. And Randy knew that. He had the idea. He brought it to me. I don't think I would have ever tried it, to be honest, without kind of his introduction to it. But after we got the ball rolling, like I said, it just made a lot of sense to keep going.
And how do you come to that? How do you get that picture, come to that realization? Obviously, Randy, you come back and you get together and you say, okay, let's give this a shot. How do you go from there to then, oh, this is working? Like, what was that change like?
Oh, me and Randy kind of talked about this earlier before we hopped on, but it's just it's the money, right? It's how much you're making. And so when we were both having success that we quite haven't had without each other in our own personal ventures in terms of like revenue and also like growth potential, just looking at our trajectory, which we were pretty ambitious, and we were able to stay on track for the most part with that ambition. When that stuff kind of just comes to fruition, the question answers itself.
True. And like in a very low level perspective that maybe someone who's new to this game can still understand, like what were the things that you now did differently that maybe Randy you weren't doing before?
Oh, it's quite a few. It was a lot, actually. First of all, it was when I was doing jobs, or the efficiency of doing jobs. It was in my coupe, which obviously can't fit that much stuff, and just adding more services requires more space, and that's what a small car can't do. So obviously upgrading equipment, but before upgrading equipment was having Connor on the team and him actually selling, and so I can just do consistently jobs. After a while, we started doing more jobs, and we actually brought on another one of our friends that we've known since elementary. Actually, quite the same since, I don't know, I think I met him at like 8 maybe, and he's also really good. So he started producing more sales, and so we quickly just had to buy a truck. Like we just can't do any more jobs with what we're doing right now. And with more jobs came more of we had to put down our clients somewhere where having them on our phone or our text messages wasn't working anymore. So we had to get a CRM and delegate us on a schedule when and where we're going to be at that time, and being able to coordinate all these jobs going at the same time. Or just like this job goes at 9 o'clock, and then right after you're going to like Linda's house to do some other stuff on there, and having it all in notes and not missing like a single thing. As well as just Andy was a big portion in scaling even further to creating our website. and then creating door hangers, which, if we missed somebody, they would see our door hanger, and they would just fill it out, go to our website, and then they're automatically booked, or we just schedule them or go get them a quote.
That's smart.
And it was just kind of blew up in a couple of months. So there's a whole lot more that, but that's just the big chunk that did the most.
Yeah.
More systems, more processes, more personnel. So, I mean, we scaled from there. It just kind of all fell in line.
Yeah, I was gonna ask, was it just like one natural progression after the other from where you were doing, okay, we're doing the window cleaning, I believe you were talking about previously, and some gutter cleaning, and then like there was just the next step of like, we'll do this one as well, or now we have the capacity to, or did you like sit down and go, okay, like these are the things we imagine people want, let's aim for these, or was it more like organic?
To be honest, it was, I think Randy can attest to this, we were flying by the edge of our seat. We still kind of are. It was definitely 0 to 100. I had like almost immediately we started a little bit into April, and so this was first year, right, in a new market. There's a lot of questions to be had, and I was like I said, busy with the marketing agency at the time, and so it was a huge 180 shift in a very short amount of time when Randy arrived here, and we were able to maintain his previous revenue in like about half the time. And so we're like, okay, the next natural step is like to push for 5 figures in revenue. And then when we accomplished that almost immediately and continue to have month over month larger months, just like we just kept trending upwards. We know until the very last month here in November, it gets super cold in Indiana. The winter has already rolled in, and so with the exception of November, when our season came to a close, it was more every single month. Unfortunately, brought Andy in, very tech savvy. Randy's very good at the labor. I'm very good at like operating the business. And so all of us, huge learning curves. Randy having to figure out how to, we had to hire help, how to train, how to build out SOPs, how to manage teams, while I was figuring out all of the legal, the admin, and the finance. And then we had Andy building out our systems and our website and our funnel, and it was all new to us, something that we all had experience in. However, something at a scale that we weren't quite familiar with, because it was first time, I suppose, at that level, right? And it all happened very, very quickly. And so as organic as possible, I suppose, but it was a lot. And so it was something we had to adjust to. It was very much like an adaptive season, I would say.
Yeah, I guess it was maybe a bit of a stupid question, because when you have so much demand to what you describe, everything is forced to be organic in some way. I see that. It makes me no, it doesn't make me curious. I think I'm starting to see a picture, and I think for like the aspiring entrepreneur, like the young guy who's looking at you two and thinking, can I do this? Can I be like them? Right? Even though you yourself will probably be thinking, we're still at the edge of our seats.
Yeah, right.
Like, was there ever a time where you were thinking, oh, is this ever gonna work? Like, can we handle this? Or like, what have been the thoughts of doubt for you guys? Or have there been any thoughts of doubt?
I personally never really doubted it. I just knew it was gonna work. Like, if not this, then what? It's just like, it has to work. There's just no other. I don't see any other way of learning business than just continuing. Like, I think from the get-go, I knew it was going to be tough. It's just an expectation about business. It's going to be hard.
Yeah, especially
do you think your way of viewing that comes from your experience in the door-to-door industry?
Yeah, from door to door, like people are gonna tell you no. They're gonna slam the door on you. It's just like, okay, that's fine. Like, just knock more.
Yeah, how about you, Connor?
Yeah, I was gonna say, with it being first year of operations, there's gonna be a lot of things to overcome, and that's expected. We've read about it in the books. We've seen all of the people that we aspire to be and look up to talk about. There's gonna be that season of just eating glass. It's not gonna be fun. It is so it was expected, but it's a blessing to try, and I don't think that either of us, or Andy or anybody else that we have surrounded ourselves with at this point, really see any other way. And so just being like in the same, well, I don't approve of like echo chambers. I think other perspective is great when it comes to like the mindset, or the grind set rather. That's the something that's reciprocated through and through, and so you didn't really have the opportunity to question yourself. We had too much to do.
That's a good point. Yeah, when you're a duo or three, you have someone, you have someone to pull you up when you're down.
Yep, absolutely.
That's great. So, with what you're saying now, are you still pushing the marketing agency, or are you kind of phasing that out?
Yeah, so marketing is quintessential to any business, right?
Yeah.
And so we run a seasonal operation, at least for the time being. Next season, we plan to have some sort of deliverable fully fleshed out for the off season to keep one of us busy, or when we have full-time employees, it's going to be an inevitable off season for them too. Try to keep them busy. We're working on that. However, this year, there's only so much you can do on year one, and it's given us plenty of time to pivot back into the marketing agency. My previous partner has come a long way, and so he's able to kind of be a mentor to me now, which is awesome. So I'm building off the shoulders of people who have been still putting in the work. It's pretty selfish. I feel bad, but with that being said, we're picking it right back up immediately. Working on the marketing, we have niched down a little bit. I was previously working with the e-commerce and a more international client base, but now we are just targeting local service-based industries in our area to try what we already know we're good at, and then to monetize that, but also give ourselves the opportunity to keep building on the skill set, which in then turn will kind of feed right back into our ecosystem. We get better at this marketing for others, and spend time continuing to build the skill set, and also fill in all the gaps where strengths and weaknesses, gives everybody some time to learn what we're good at, and roadmap next season, because we have some very ambitious goals for next season just because of how this one has gone. But it's very self-fulfilling in the way that it should be very beneficial working on the agency right now, and then rolling back into next season with everything we've learned and all of the road mapping.
Got you. That's a very interesting take, because obviously I don't know what the day-to-day of your work looks like, but it's easy to think, at least, that if you're trying to run two businesses, they're going to be a little bit conflicting, right? Even though they might in some ways be complementary. But what you're saying is essentially both that they're going to be run seasonally, at least to some extent, and that it's going to be a cycle of, doing one, then doing the other to get better at the first. That's kind of cool. What, best of luck, I think is one of my first thoughts. If you do it well, I'm sure it's going to be a help. As you say yourself, there's no business that doesn't need advertisement, right? It's not like you can get rid of marketing. You can if you don't want to get paid. But
and we do want to get paid. Yeah, we are hoping
we
to get
do
paid.
want to get paid. Yeah. And I was thinking, because the last time we spoke, Randy, you had recently crossed, I think, about the 5K mark. And also you both talked a little bit about the difference to now making like 5 figures and probably hitting like multiple 5-figure months. What would you say is one, the difference in like your experience in hitting those numbers? Like what has it done for your confidence? What has it done for your feeling, like experience or perceptions as entrepreneurs? But also maybe what are some of the, you mentioned a little bit, but some of the details of the new problems that arise, some of the unexpected things maybe.
I think it's giving me a better understanding of what I don't know, and what I need to work on more. Just like when Connor came to the business, he knew a lot about the bookkeeping side of stuff, and that's something I never really did. I had to do at 5K. Like it was just one person doing everything, and there's just like little overhead, and making. And something that I learned from Connor was making like analytical decisions rather than emotional. Because when you're one person, it's like what you have to do and kind of what you feel like doing, just based off of like I got 5K this week or this entire month, so we can continue doing. But now it's a bigger operation, so it's like we have to hammer down on the numbers and really just giving me an opportunity on learning like the bookkeeping side of stuff and the parts that I don't really understand. And as far as the problems, it's really as you go, that we start to see that things start to fail. When we didn't really have a system for doing jobs, then we started realizing that things were taking a lot longer. And so we had to kind of systemize everything of how everything was put in the truck to make things easier, how jobs are going to be scheduled out closest to each other, or the closeness of the job to each other, and just seeing like where things start to fail that we need to start to fix them. But also just before they start to fail, you just start implementing those things so we don't have to go through that failure process.
Ooh, makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
Quite a bit of development on our foresight, because with it being year one, you're gonna run into stuff. I mean, I guess not even year one, just as the operation grows, we just constantly run into stuff that you really can't predict. However, expecting to run into stuff that you can't predict as an inevitability kind of in return helps you almost predict that stuff. And you can't quite grasp the specifics. It's always a new adventure, I suppose, a new opportunity to learn, right? It's a good time though. It's a good time. Sometimes.
I was gonna say, Connor, you're taking the words right out of my mouth. You mentioned being ready for the change and being ready for the unexpected. And I was wondering, like, how much of like belief or mental shifts have you kind of been forced throughout this year?
Man, we've had some like crazy heart to hearts this year, because I feel like when you walk this path of entrepreneurship, we might be biased as entrepreneurs, right? I feel like you, in certain aspects of your life, in certain aspects of like your maturity and your thinking, I think you, as younger entrepreneurs, I should say, you kind of like age quickly. You live a lot of life in a short amount of time, because you kind of have to. You have to be very dynamic. You have to adapt to a lot. You have to get your heart broken about 5 times, sometimes a week, right? And it's you have to have a very high stress tolerance for all of this. And so I think the development that you have, that you are forced to have if you keep pushing through, fighting the good fight, is it does a lot to you, and I do think it's for the best. But it's definitely an experience, one that I think most people should give a go. But I think you guys know what I mean when I say this.
Oh, yes, yes. I think that's, I guess that's why I kind of react the way. Like I feel like it's so true that it's kind of hilarious.
Yeah.
But I do agree. How about you, Rainy? When you feel like mentally, have you had any major like belief shifts or things you had to change about how you saw everything?
I think it had to be like a kind of overhaul of my previous perspective, because at first it was really just me. It was for like a year, it was really just me doing the business, and then having other people come into the business. Then it was just like I couldn't have that mindset of just me anymore. Like it's just not me anymore. I have like other teammates that I have to like work with and develop a new mindset and get ideas from them, and them telling me that I'm wrong, which is, when you're on your own, you think everything you do is right, because it's just like you're talking to yourself, and sometimes you don't have that other person to bounce an idea off of, and then for them to tell you like that's a ridiculous idea, you shouldn't do that. It's like, okay, yeah. So I think I had to just overhaul the thought process that I had, just curate a new one of like, this we're doing this together now, and I really do love that now.
That's that's very intriguing. And from what you both say, it's very clear that you obviously get a lot of benefits being part of such a team. What would you say, on the other hand, were some disadvantages? I mean, you allude to it a little bit, Randy, but what would you say are some disadvantages of also being a team or having such big but different roles?
Uh, Being able having to talk about certain problems and how we go about fixing things can sometimes take a little bit longer than we would like it to implement them. For example, I think a big conversation we had was about choosing the right CRM, because there's just so many that you could possibly choose, and there's still so many that we can choose. Again, that was one of the biggest ones, because it is a big expense when you're first starting. It's like $300 a month, when $300, like that's an entire job. It feels like a lot for somebody who's starting out, and choosing which one's the right one, and um, not delaying that process. And it took us a little bit longer than we would have liked to implement it, and then learning it. Just implementing things took a little bit longer, but they were thought out more, and the choice was eventually the best one.
What would you say, Connor? Do you agree or?
Yeah, I completely agree. I think with multiple perspectives, you're going to have some conflict no matter what. Even if we're best friends for 15 years, Andy and I were college roommates, and friends since elementary. No matter what, though, everybody. It's easier when you know that everybody is coming from a place that like no one is. There's no funny business. I think that having like a high trust operation is super helpful. However, no matter what, everyone's trying to do what they think is best for the business, and we're all relatively novice, right? We've only been in this journey for a handful of years. We have, as you learn more, as we get deeper into our journeys, you realize the more you know, or the more you learn, the less you know. And so I think we're kind of all on that growth curve where we're trying to do what we think is right, but not all of us always have the exact same take on a situation, which is okay, because then that's where we are not in that echo chamber, which is good. We are hard fast on the stuff that's unanimously beneficial, or mutually beneficial, like the mindset and stuff. But sometimes when it comes to the decision making, stuff gets tossed up in the air for a little bit too long. But the advantages of having the team that we do have, it's immeasurable to the few disadvantages that you do have. It's very hard to scale an operation the way we want to with just the lack of personnel, but there's three of us, and so that opens a lot of doors. And then the additionally, like us all kind of having our niche skill sets that are like incredibly beneficial to the business, and then all complementary. It's a lot of stuff works out, but of course there's a few kinks that are just bound to happen.
Yeah, I mean, you're just as you're gonna have growing pains, you're gonna have disagreements as soon as you're more than one person.
Yeah, that's inevitable. That's okay.
Yeah. H- What's your take on whether any of the disagreements that you've had have been more related to you as professionally disagreeing and more related to like the fact that you are so close? Has it ever been a disadvantage that the fact that you have been close for so long?
So like, I want to say that that question, not to assume, but we've gotten it quite a bit. Like because there's like a trope that you're not supposed to go into business with your friends, or you shouldn't go into business with like your family. And I think I've seen that crash and burn. I have seen situations like that crash and burn, absolutely. And so I understand it. But I think outside looking in, you would have no idea how much of like we were able to separate the personal from the professional. Like Randy said, the analytical decision making, we referred to it as like brave you choices, not Connor choices, not Andy choices, not Randy choices. It's brave you choices. And so that's just the frame we put on it, and we're able to, because the last thing you want obviously is to like implode a very long friend, like a lifelong friendship, like any sort of personal difficulties with my best friends, right? That is the last thing you want to happen. And if you're able to have the right process to, process decisions and disagreements, then make sure that everything is like from a professional perspective, and then, go grab some margaritas after, no matter what. It pans out all right. Some survey says. So I think that's been really important for us. I do think we're incredibly good at it, especially for this being like our not even first full year where we're all operating together.
I mean, that's good. And I feel like you're on to something. I mean, I don't have the experience to say, but if you kind of just put up the picture, right? If you have people who are extremely close, then sometimes the issue is that they're too close, not necessarily friendship-wise, but skill-wise also. And I mean, then it would feel more likely that you would run into trouble. Whereas the situation that you're describing is that you each come with like vastly different expertise, which is probably one of the major strong suits of your situation.
Yeah, of course.
Cool. I'm really, really interested because I try to make these interviews as kind of low level as possible, so that there's actually some kind of actionable value to take from them for people who are looking to get started.
Absolutely.
When you guys, I mean, I don't know if you were in Indiana already, but when Remy came back to Indiana, you're starting to do either cold calling or door-to-door sales. Like, what was your process for making that decision, setting up the framework or the process, and then how did you start, and like where did you prioritize the most effort?
So, Randy, over the course of, I think Randy got back right smack middle of April, said hi to his family, settled in for a week, and we were straight to the doors. And he already had some experience with like his previous organization. I might let him expand on that a little bit. But he taught me quick. He taught me quick how to knock. I closed a couple first day ever trying it. I was like, all right, I see it. I know what needs to be done. He just like we were tight, right? And so he's able to give me that super harsh criticism. Like I blow a door, and he's not gonna tiptoe around it. He's like, all right, dumbass, here's what you did wrong. And it's like, okay, cool. And so I was able to improve quickly. I ended up having a knack for it, but I only think it's funny. What we've realized in the operation, because of then mostly me, but of course Randy as well, trained Andy, and Andy's our best sales representative now. And so
Wow.
I ended up being really good at the sales side, and Randy was able to really like I mean, you had to wear all the hats when you're at starting this business, and so it's not like Randy just did labor, I just did sales. It was, of course, everybody was doing everything, but I leaned into the sales pretty heavily because, quite frankly, I was bad at the labor, like really bad. I couldn't clean windows too well. I was just spectating for the most part when we were like cleaning. It was bad. It was bad. So I went into the sales. Thank goodness I was all right at it. And then we just got after it. The actual steps were just start and keep going and keep going. Like Randy said, you're going to get some tough critics when you're knocking on someone's door. But it's just a lot of inputs. To quote Alex Hormozy, paraphrase Alex Hormozy a bit, it's just do a lot of inputs that'd be unreasonable that you don't get an output to some extent. And so that's what we leaned in pretty heavy. And then we're able to expand the personnel, expand the equipment, and just kind of optimize the best we could as we went.
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense, but many of these things only like seem obvious once you hear it from someone who's already done it. I feel
Yeah, yeah. The
um,
hindsight's so clear, but
yeah, right.
that's just how it goes,
Well,
though.
what would you guys say for someone who has no idea what it's like going into such an industry? What are like some benchmark numbers of when you're completely new and you're in your learning process of knocking on doors?
I think Randy has the best perspective on that one.
That's like get your first sale. The first one's always the hardest for some reason. I mean, it just depends on the person. For me, it was my first one was the hardest because I was extremely shy as a person. Like I would not talk. I was the person that you wouldn't think would knock a door. And I still remember the first door that I knocked, and it was just so painful for me to just overcome that barrier. And really just getting your first sale gives you so much confidence. And after your first sale, another benchmark would be getting your first like $1,000 worth of work, and then $1,000 worth of work in a week consistently. And then after that, get shorten it to $1,000 in a day worth of sales of like your own sales. Because I did that in Colorado, and I called Connor the first time I did it, and I was like, "Yo, Connor, I just did $1,000 in sales today."
Yeah.
It was the best feeling ever. And, like the next week, I did it again, and I was like, "Wow!" So really, just once you do it, it just becomes so much easier to do it again. So I would just say like get your first sale, then get your first $1,000 in a week, and after that, try to shorten the amount of time that you get $1,000 in a day.
And
Probably.
that's, yeah, of course, man. Why wouldn't you? If we're on the topic of unreasonable amounts of volume, what would you say? What's the number of doors where someone couldn't go wrong, hypothetically, with making their first sale?
Also like 100 doors a day. Once you start getting better, like the amount of doors that you start to hit starts to become shorter. For me, my personal amount of doors is like every, like I always keep saying this when I'm in the field, is like every 25 doors I'm getting a sale, every 25 doors I'm getting a sale. And sometimes it doesn't happen, but you just continue saying that. Like I just continue saying it, and then eventually it happens.
Mm.
And if you feel a little anxious about the doors, just do some push-ups, get your heart rate up, and
I remember that.
just start.
Push-ups in the field. We were doing push-ups
Yeah,
in the
yeah,
field.
Like
did
it's
see
something about the
one
push-ups
do
that
that.
get your heart rate going, and just listen to some good music before you go out, and then just go out there with high energy.
Well, I think, I mean, Tony Robbins said this a long time ago, right? But motion brings emotion. So
Yeah.
I think there's something very true to be said about that. The last time we talked, we touched on the topic of I think you either had switched the area which you were knocking in, or you were considering. We touched on how do you find a place where even for the same service, chances are you're going to make more. Like, how conscious and intentional was that decision for you guys when you started up in Indiana?
It was very at first the location that we thought was going to be a good area ended up being like our worst ever, or maybe because it was just a new area. I'm not entirely sure. But when we came back towards the end of the season and we did like infinitely better. So I think it was just getting the ball rolling, and the season was still windy and raining. So I'm not sure if that had to do anything with it. I don't use that as an excuse to for not for failing, but it had to be very conscious because you can go to some areas to where you're not going to get the amount that you're asking for your service. So just going on like or like Zillow places that they're selling houses and looking up how much the cost for houses, and just going to those areas first and the surrounding areas, and then once you become into like the smaller homes, then you can either hit those, because we did also, and we did pretty good in those areas as well. But consciously choosing where you want to knock is very important. Just because it's like you'll get more success that way rather than trial and error in little areas that it saves you just so much time.
Yeah, that's a bit of sauce there, is kind of looking for the areas that, let's say, like have the money to spend on a service. Like, so I don't know if, I mean, we did the window cleaning, right? But we immediately added the deliverable of pressure washing. That was our higher ticket on our upsell, and then we did the gutter cleaning, and we expanded into like the surface cleaning of driveways and stuff. So having the right upsells in order, having the right proposition at the door, and getting through your pitch as quickly as possible, but most importantly, being in the right area. And so April was a bit of a slow burn. Did similar numbers to what Randy did, but there was two of us now, and so it's like, even though we were kind of starting halfway through the month. And then immediately after, the next month, we found the right spot. It was actually the right region, really, and we dominated the northern part of where we work for the entire season on our first year. I think we're probably the most like prominent business in that area year one. And then we were able to figure out where we were missing out on later in the year. There's other areas that are preferable for the services we offer, and we were a little bit late to the party by the time that we kind of discovered those locations. And so going into year two, it's knowing your market, knowing the right locations to go to, and then having the right product to deliver.
Such great input. What would you say were some of the questions you kind of had to ask yourself in order to start making those realizations?
If we were just completely wrong with what we thought was right, being able to quickly try new things, because once we found the right area and once we started pitching the right way, it worked very quickly. And then when it stopped working, because obviously the same pitch, the same price won't work in the same area, or not, or different areas rather. And so you have to be very pliable. And so we were quick to adapt, and I think that was probably one of the most lucrative things, that we weren't so stubborn, because, you know, like I said, we've only been doing this for so long. Randy might be 2 years deep, and I might think I have a good grasp on marketing and positioning, but being able to accept that no matter what experience we have, there's always room for improvement. And so being able to negotiate with yourself, like, okay, like what I'm saying right now might just completely suck. That's okay. Let's figure out how to do better. And so then you're able to find a solution pretty quickly.
I think the way you approach that I'm not going to say mindset, but the way what you're describing is essentially like very stark openness to reevaluation, to self-criticism, to and it's I mean ultimately it's humility, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, you have to be.
And
You absolutely have to be.
yeah, and I was going to ask, do you feel like that's something that's been forced upon you, or is that a trait that you guys came with already?
Well, I think we can all agree that the work that we try to do is humbling in its nature. It's very humbling. We are wrong frequently, and so to assume that I'm um, wrong all the time, but then with this one particular thing that's driving the sales of our business that I'm completely right in, that's it's just like probably not right. And so being, like I said, flexible. And I do think we're all pretty humble, just like in our personality. It's like I said, it's the growth mindset, always knowing that there you can be better. And so if you can just keep that frame, you're able to build on it a lot, able to kind of reposition yourself a lot, so you are hopefully actually growing.
Um, this is kind of a switch back to what we were talking about before, but I'm really curious because like marketing, sales is really something that's intriguing to me. And you don't have to go into details because I get that it might be a disadvantage for you. But when you were like implementing your upsells, like did you did you get any kind of data on whether there was a difference in the conversions for the order of which you mentioned the upsells or like any of that stuff?
So we tried to track as many like data points as possible because that's always good for any business. But it is difficult to track a like you have a script, but a script is more like a framework. You have a pitch, but a pitch is more of just like a framework. And so to a certain extent, yes. Like coming out the gate with a offer that is higher in value. So I guess, for example, I don't think we're going to compromise ourselves sharing this. Our window price is pretty competitive in our market. So you charge per pane, and we are very competitive in our market with our pricing for the windows. However, our pressure washing, it's about on par, and it's like a higher ticket, and so it is a very lucrative upsell. But hearing that price at the door, or when you initially quote somebody on the service, because when we quote someone, we're always offering to quote everything, right? Like, hey, while I'm at it, let me quote everything just so you know, just so you know. But opening up with something that's higher in value with a very good price point, it opens them up. And so our positioning, right, and our process to a certain extent is calculated, but we all think that it could be more so. And so heading into the next season, a lot more of our pitches at the door will be kind of like recorded in our pocket so we can analyze further, and having other things that come to minds, other ways to measure ourselves and improve. Like I said, growth oriented. We will be implementing that much more. It'll be much more prominent in our operation next year.
Yeah, and speaking of next year, like where are you guys headed? What's your North Star?
Yeah. We want to grow the operation by about 300%, and we think we can do it. That'll be it's a big mountain to climb, but I think it's very possible.
Yeah, but I feel like there's a few things that go into a number like that,
There's a lot of things that go into a number like that.
right? Like when you first start building a foundation,
Mhm.
like if you have a proper foundation, scaling later becomes easier.
Yeah.
Not easy, but easier at least.
Right.
Like just because you might be, I'm guessing when you say 300%, it's revenue, right?
Right. Yeah.
Not necessarily workers, right? Or hours for that matter. Like
No.
hours would be crazy, but
No.
um,
We're already we maxed out our hours just about, I would say. And so um we have a rough trajectory, and there's still a lot of stuff to go over, a lot of planning to go over, a lot of road mapping, and it's the prep work, right? But knowing what we're capable of, working out all the kinks that are inevitable for year one, we came this far, but we think realistically, if we would have been a bit more optimized, the opportunity cost would have had us, a little bit higher here. And so, if this is what could have happened, where we were at, and then calculating in like systems, because we didn't have, say, our paper marketing materials year rounds, and so we're able to kind of calculate numbers. Okay, we'll have those year rounds. We won't have, like I said, just less issues. Won't have this gap in our season where our paper marketing materials went out. We couldn't find a ideal supplier. We were out without them for almost a month. And so like things like that are very much year one learning opportunities just won't happen. And getting better at our marketing, and Randy dialing in our labor operation, and also being more efficient with the work, and having a full season too, not starting, in the middle of April, but at the cusp of March rather. You're able to kind of put together some numbers that seem very ambitious, but with the growth we have had so far, we think that we can really have a groundbreaking year next year. Probably one of our most important years for the operation. And then I think a bit more of a 50% to 20 to 50% growth rate for our industry and for our market would be a bit more sustainable going forward. But if we're able to really ramp up our operation and fill the need in our market for the quality of service we have, I think we're going to be able to do some really awesome stuff next year. I look forward to checking in with you.
yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to following along. Do you guys have a specific revenue target in mind, or is it more like 30K per month, or
Yeah,
for the year,
that's
or what have you set it in?
the 30K month range is pretty close, and so it's give or take a bit, but
Yeah,
that's what we're that's right around what we're shooting for.
that's gonna be so exciting for you guys. I think also you touch on something very important that I want to bring to the attention of the viewers, which is all of the benefits that you mentioned for having a full year. This is the exact benefit you get from compounding, like continuing with the same thing. Like it is more of the same thing. It's probably going to be more boring to continue with the same stuff as well, even though there's going to be some new things, right?
Yeah.
But like year after year, when you just get better and better and better at doing the same thing, that's where the real money will be made, probably.
Yeah, that's where the growth's at, because like we said, it's the repetitions, and it's putting in the work that gives you, it's the inputs that give you the outputs, and so more inputs, more outputs.
Yes, sir. For both of you, if you were to give one take each, if someone's watching this and maybe they feel a little bit embarrassed about wanting to start a business, or for thinking that they can do it, that they can succeed, and they just want to hit their first 1K, 5K month, what should they do like this weekend and next week? Like what should they do right now?
Like if you were to start from like zero, or like
Start from zero, yeah.
Start from zero. Well, this is like pretty much what I did, except the backward order. What I did, if I had like $0, I would go sell a job, collect half of it up front, and then go buy the material for $40, and then come back the next day and do the job. Like even if it's a 1-story house with like 10 windows, sell it for $100. Go to Home Depot and buy $40 worth of equipment, which is exactly what I did. Come back and then just do the job, get paid. And go and do it again. And then just build up from there and buy more equipment. If you had $0.
That's such a great display of resourcefulness. I really like that.
Absolutely.
What would you say, Connor?
I think a lot of people would surprise themselves. And so let yourself be vulnerable enough with yourself to allow yourself to be surprised. Go get uncomfortable, and like I said, go try. It's the inputs that get you the outputs. If you spend too much time pondering on whether or not you can do it, you never will. So go try. There's so many resources out online. We live in the information age, and so instead of doom scrolling your life away, you have access to so much, and more than you need to make your first 1,000 or 5,000.
Yeah, so much free information online. I don't know why I've never done so much research in my life. Like, it was a great book. I actually have it right in front of me because it's holding up my phone. But this book is amazing. This book, like, if you had $0, this would literally tell you exactly what we just told you. Like, get a CRM within your first couple of months. And there's like, this book holds like free information of where you can get a free CRM and stuff. So
the Hormozy collection. I'm borrowing Andy's books right now, or one of Andy's books.
One book.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. There's just so much free information online. Just all you have to do is Google it. Like, that's so simple. I've never, I don't know why I never realized it was that easy just to get information offline for free. And there's so many people that just offer it for free too on YouTube, and it's just,
this is a good example.
Great.
Like informational interview / podcast sort of thing like this. This is
yeah. I mean, that's
like,
the hope, right?
Like David's giving it out for free right now. So
yeah, like we just gave some free sauce.
You did. I mean, that's the whole point, and I'm so grateful to have had you boys. It's been an absolute pleasure, and I'm really excited to see how things will be going next year. Maybe the next talk will be at 30K. We'll see.
Yeah, likewise. Thank you for having us. We'll be shooting for the stars, and we'll let you know if we land somewhere in between.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you, David.
Appreciate you. Take care.
Take care.
All right.